It's the Minecraft Exploration and Tactics with Brian clip show. Actually, what I'm going to do is take some of the best tactics from my first 10 videos and just show little clips and be voicing them over and just kind of put them all back to back so you can have a summary of my best Minecraft tips and tactics all in one video. And so let's go ahead and get started. Our first tip comes from episode 1, where you'll recall that I said that even though everyone knows in Minecraft the first step 1 is to punch trees, step 0 is to mark your spawn point. And so make sure you remember where you spawned, and what I like to do is, since you typically spawn on sand or near some dirt, go ahead and just make a little pillar there so you'll be able to see it in a few minutes when all of a sudden you discover you're thinking to yourself, wait a minute, where did I spawn? Because it's always good to build a shelter near or within sight of your first spawn point so that when you do die in the future, you don't end up wandering the earth trying to find your house again. The next tip is also from episode 1. After cutting down some trees, you'll end up with a bunch of saplings. A lot of people will tell you to replant them. Don't! There's tons and tons of trees in most any world. Unless you're really starved for trees, don't replant saplings. Trees just get in the way. They obscure your view of enemies coming in over the horizon. There's usually plenty of trees around. Unless you're desperate for wood, don't plant saplings. We're still in episode 1. You've been looking around and you haven't found any coal, and the sun is going to be going down soon. Well, that's not a problem, because so long as you can find stone, and you can always find stone, just dig down or dig into a wall, you'll find some stone that you can mine with a wooden pickaxe. So long as you have stone, you can always make a furnace, and then with all the trees that you've already been punching, you can always use wood plus wood in the furnace in order to create charcoal. And so for the first night, you can create a little bit of charcoal just to make sure that you have torches in order to be able to survive indoors in the first night. That's one of the most important tips for any Minecraft newbie. This will be our last tip from episode 1. Obviously, after you have created a shelter, you're going to want to put a front door on it. And when you do place the door, make sure that you stand outside your shelter and plop the door down so that the door opens in the correct direction. Basically, from one of the sides, you can kind of shoot arrows out and be able to attack enemies, whereas from the other side you can't, and you want to make sure that you can, when you're standing inside, be protected from the enemies, whereas when they're outside, they can't shoot in at you. We're moving on to episode 2 now. It's the next morning, and we're about to go out that door that we created. When you walk outside of your house, go ahead and get a running start and go into a clearing. The reason being, you never know when there'll be creepers standing right outside your door or up on a hillside right above you, and if you just kind of lollygag and walk out the door, they can always fall on your head and explode. So go ahead and get a running start out the door, then turn around and get a kind of 360-degree look around to make sure no creepers are after you. Here's more from episode 2. So you've been exploring a cave, and you found a dead end. Well, that's a good thing. No enemies back here. But it's very helpful to mark the dead ends that are in your caverns that you're exploring, so that you don't keep backtracking into different things. I prefer to mark them with 3 torches on the ground. The important thing, though, is just to have a system, any system. Some people like always putting torches on the right side as you go in, or on the left side as you go in, so that then you can tell based on what wall they're on, which way is the way back out. The point is, make some kind of system for torches, or whatever else, so that you can tell where the dead ends are versus where the exits back out to the outside are. Still from episode 2, I recommend that if your mouse has a thumb button, that you map the thumb button to the 1 key, which will switch you to the first item in your inventory, and always keep a sword in the first item in your inventory. That way, no matter where you are in your item list, in your hotbar, you can always just hit the thumb key and immediately switch to your sword, without fiddling around with the scroll wheel and whatnot. So when enemies like creepers that are hiding just behind this wall all of a sudden surprise you, you can quickly switch to your sword and be ready to get them. One more from episode 2. It's very good to always try to have the high ground, both because when enemies surprise you, they'll be easy to take out, and because if you have the high ground, it means you're kind of aiming down, which is good as you're exploring caves, because the good ores and different things are down deep in the depths, and so it's better to always be trying to go down, down, down. You'll have the high ground for any enemies that you're advancing on, and you'll be going down to where the good ores are. This one's from episode 3. If you need to get up somewhere higher, you can always use a dirt elevator. Just look straight down and start placing dirt blocks directly below you. This works with any material. Dirt is good just because you tend to have lots of it on hand, and it's easy to break down when you're done. But that's an easy way to get up to a new level, is just to create an elevator by looking down, jumping up, and placing blocks below you. Another tip from episode 3, this one's pretty obvious, but the reason that we create chests is we can put items in them. One, it frees up slots in your inventory, but two, and perhaps more importantly, even if you die, your items will still be in the chest. And so whenever you're going to undertake any kind of risky activities, or if you've just built up a lot of good stuff that you want to make sure you don't lose, go ahead and bring that stuff home or wherever you are and put it in a chest. That way it'll be safe. My next tip comes from episode 4, which is basically, have fun. I decided one day that I just wanted to go out and fight enemies at night. Well, I died a lot, but that's okay. I was fighting them at night right next to my spawn point, and so every time I died, I just dropped all my enemies I dropped all my items right here, but it was easy to kind of go and run back and pick them up, even after I kept getting eaten by zombies and different things because I'm such a poor fighter. But it ended up being a lot of fun, and I was laughing through the end of it, even as I died repeatedly. Yes, and so basically, fighting next to your spawn point is one easy way to get practice. You can, die as much as you want, but you'll just keep dropping your items and they'll be easy to get back to. And so it can be a lot of fun. So I guess this tip is just about having fun. Episode 5 had a couple of tips that didn't really necessarily have a great video clip to go with them. Here I'm showing when I discovered a waterfall and decided I wanted to collect the water in the water source block in a bucket, but I hadn't made a bucket yet. And basically the tip is, feel free when you're in the middle of a cave to just go ahead and set down a crafting table and a furnace and smelt some iron that you have on you in order to make a bucket so that you can collect the water. Basically, feel free to make little base stations just kind of on the fly as you need them. And since crafting tables and furnaces are made out of wood and cobblestone, and these are items that are extremely plentiful in the game, feel free to just leave them there. I'll plop down a crafting table and a furnace all over the place in a cave, and I'll just leave it there, even if I never plan to return. It's not like those resources are too big and expensive that I'm going to worry about losing them. The other thing that I want to mention is, in this episode, I was finally finding enough iron that I could start making some iron tools, and so here you'll see I'm using an iron pickaxe. Basically, as you find iron, and then later on in the game, as you find diamond, go ahead and immediately start making tools out of those things. Pickaxes and swords and whatnot. There's no sense just hoarding resources and not actually using them to make tools. We're still in episode 5. Sometimes you'll find some steep drops, and one of the easiest things to do if you want to make things more traversable is basically to just kind of carve out a circular staircase. You'll see people do this in a lot of Minecraft videos. Here I'm doing it inside a cave system, but a lot of times people use circular staircases inside the homes that they build as basically an easy way in a small amount of space to go ahead and create an easy way to kind of step down, step down, step down into a deep pit. The end of episode 5 was a warning, reminding you as you're digging down, 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 don't go too fast or be not careful because you might encounter lava, as I did at the end of episode 5. Basically, I was just digging a staircase down, 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 and I got careless and I stepped right into the lava and died and lost all my items. So don't do that. Never dig straight down, and when you are digging quickly, or when you're mining quickly and you're near the bottom, near the bedrock where lava is starting to pool, be very careful because you might open up some lava, and so you can't go too quickly. In episode 6, as you accumulate more items, it's helpful to go ahead and separate different things into different chests. And so here is the first time that in my house I've created multiple chests for my various items. And so here we've got kind of my various utility items, and then over here I have a separate food chest where I'm just keeping extra food. Another quick tip from episode 6, when you place ladders, you only need to place them every other square. So don't place ladders everywhere, you only need to place them every other one, and it'll cost you only half as much wood. Our final note from episode 6, when you're exploring a cave and lighting things up, and then all of a sudden you see cobblestone, and it's cobblestone that you didn't place there, it means you found a dungeon. And then another way to be doubly sure that you found a dungeon is you'll see mossy cobblestone, which has that green that you can see in the far area of the picture. And of course, you'll see a spawner and lots of enemies will come try to eat your face off too. This tip is from episode 7. Once you do have the resources to create bows and arrows, remember that you can retrieve arrows that don't hit enemies, and so you can always use target practice and just shoot things like walls and then go over and pick up the arrows. So if you want to practice using your bow and arrow, feel free. Our next tip comes courtesy of episode 8 of Minecraft Exploration and Tactics, building a clock and a compass. Basically, you can see the crafting recipes here. These are things that you typically will do later in the game, since you're going to need redstone and gold in order to create the clock, and redstone and iron in order to create the compass. Since the compass always points at your spawn point, at least as of Minecraft Beta 1.3, that's just another good reason to build your first home very near your spawn point, because then you always have a compass that's pointing home. One of my best tips comes from episode 9. Episode 9 is where we found our second spider dungeon, and here I am having just discovered it. But basically, I had just recently died. This was a tough area that I was in, and rather than lose my head after I saw the spawner and ended up having to fight off a spider, I was originally planning to just try to charge into the dungeon. But then I thought the better of it, and I said, wait a minute, let's take a time out and let's think through this. And so I would encourage you to watch, basically from episode 9, starting about 9 minutes and 30 seconds in for the next 5 minutes. But basically what I decided to do is, rather than rush back into this spider dungeon and get owned by all the spiders that were up there, I was going to think carefully about what was going on. I know the spider dungeon is above me, and so instead I'm going to tunnel around so that I can come into that dungeon from the side and take out the spiders through a narrow passage, rather than walk in the front door that's already open so that the spiders could get out. And now, here I am, having opened up a passageway to the side of the spider dungeon, and now, rather than having all the spiders jumping on my face, I can just go ahead and kill them one at a time, all the spiders that have been hiding up in the ceiling of this dungeon, from a passageway where I could easily access them. Alright, that's it for now. Once again, sorry for the clip show, but I hope that we densely packed in some of the best tips so that you could quickly review all of my best tips from Minecraft Exploration and Tactics. See you guys again in the future.